Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Thank you so much for coming out in the cold to join us for worship today at the United Church of Rowayton. If this is your first time here or it's your first time seeing me up here, my name is Sal Sapienza, and I'm the new pastor here at the United Church of Rowayton. We're an open and affirming congregation of the United Church of Christ. And that means that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Well, I want to begin this service with a few quick announcements. We're going to try to do 5 announcements in 5 minutes. I think we can do it. Okay. So, first, I'm still full from last Sunday's pancake breakfast. And I want to begin by thanking all the people who made it happen, our Board of Christian Education, and all the volunteers who set up and prepared the food and cleaned up. So I've got all their names here. We're giving you all kudos this morning. So thank you to Megan Douglas and Josh Jewett, to John Nealon, Chris and Natalie Sable, Shirley and Emma Sykes, Leslie and Michaela Borum, Dilip Chandran, Captain Mike Harden, and of course, our Director of Christian Ed, Val Harden. Thank you, all of you, for all your hard work. It was really such a wonderful way for us to have our big feast together before the season of Lent begins. As you know, the season of Lent began on Wednesday, Ash Wednesday. We had a beautiful service on Ash Wednesday evening here at the church. We had almost 70 people in attendance, which was wonderful. And it was especially wonderful to have our anchors kids and our confirmation class at the Ash Wednesday service. A wonderful way to begin the season of Lent. And another wonderful way to kind of be prayerful the next 40 days is to be praying each day with a Lenten devotional. Every year, our denomination, the United Church of Christ, publishes a new Lenten devotional. So this is the one for 2024. The theme this year is Bend. And so every day, from Ash Wednesday to Easter, there is a quote from the Bible, then there is a reflection on it, and it's just a way for you to kind of center yourselves each day during the season of Lent. So these are available on the back welcome table. We are asking a donation of $5 to help cover the costs if you're able. It's not necessary, but we would be grateful. My next announcement is all about new members. So one of the wonderful things, we've been so pleased with the attendance the month of January and the first 2 Sundays now of February. And we've been seeing some new faces. And several of those new faces have asked about becoming members of the church. And so 2 Sundays from today, on March 3rd, we're going to be having a new members class. It's going to be right after the service. I'm going to be teaching it. You'll be learning about the history of our denomination and about the workings of our church here. It's just 1 hour long from 11:30 to 12:30. If you're someone who's interested in taking the new members class, would you please sign the sheet on the welcome table, either here or in the fellowship hall, or you can just contact the church office this week and we'll put your name down. And I know some of you have been coming to this church for many years, but you never made your membership official. So you're also, it doesn't mean that you have to be someone who's just been attending in the past couple of months. If you're not a member and you'd like to be, I hope you'll sign up for that class. Today, we are going to be celebrating the first Sunday in the season of Lent. And today we're going to be hearing 2 readings. One is an Old Testament reading. It's all about Noah. You all know the Noah's Ark story. And then we're going to be hearing a New Testament reading about Jesus in the wilderness. Both Noah and Jesus heard the voice of God in the wilderness. Well, like many of you, during the pandemic lockdown, when there wasn't much to do, I started to watch a lot of TV. And one of my favorite shows at the time was a reality show that was on Netflix, and it was called Tidying Up. Did anybody ever see Tidying Up? Well, if you haven't seen it, Tidying Up is all about a Japanese woman. Her name is Marie Kondo. And Marie Kondo comes into people's homes, and she helps them tidy up, to declutter, to organize their lives. And it's a really spiritual thing. When Marie comes into the house, she gets on her knees, she bows to the house, and she says a blessing over the house. She expresses her gratitude to the house. And then she invites the homeowners to take their belongings and put them in a big pile. And then one by one, they're to take each item, hold it to their chest, and see if it sparks joy for them. That's Marie's mantra or motto, if you will. Does this spark joy? And if the item doesn't spark joy for the homeowner, it's discarded or donated. And at the end of each episode, the homeowners always say how much lighter and freer they feel. And oftentimes, there are tears. One homeowner at the end of an episode was crying, and she said, "Marie, you have given our family new life." Now, the reason I share this with you today, because today is the first Sunday in Lent. And that's what Lent is all about. It's 40 days for us to tidy up our spiritual lives and to get rid of those things that aren't sparking joy for us anymore. Now, that may be confusing for those of us who grew up in a Christian church that told us during Lent we were supposed to give up the things that brought us joy. So if we enjoyed chocolate or candy, we had to give that up, even though we enjoyed it. And the reason was, well, Jesus suffered, so you have to suffer too. But that is not what the season of Lent is all about. The season of Lent is not about giving up the things that bring you joy. The season of Lent is about giving up the things that are keeping you from your joy. So if watching cable news is keeping you from your joy, how about a 40-day fast from cable news? If being on social media is keeping you from your joy, how about a 40-day fast from that? Maybe you'll feel lighter and freer. Pope Francis said something very similar to this last year. He said, this Lent, instead of giving up chocolate, give up worry. Instead of giving up candy, give up fear. Instead of giving up soda, give up anger. He said, let go of bitterness and fill your hearts with joy. That's what we're supposed to be doing these 40 days, is letting go of those things that are no longer serving us so that we can feel lighter and freer and experience new life. And so that's my question for you on this first Sunday in Lent. What is it that is weighing you down that you'd like to let go of in the next 40 days, that you'd like to give up this Lent? Maybe you need to give up your negative thinking. Maybe you need to let go of worry and fear and lack and limitation and resentment. Maybe you need to forgive somebody. Maybe you need to let go of an old grudge. Maybe you need to let go of your need to always be right. Or maybe you need to let go of a belief system that you unknowingly just took on and never really questioned, one that's no longer serving you. What the season of Lent requires from us is, in order to give up these things, we've got to go out into the wilderness, just as Jesus did. Now, where is the wilderness? Where do we have to go? Well, as I told you last Sunday, the Bible is more of a symbolic or spiritual book than a book of literal stories. The wilderness is mentioned in the Bible 300 times. So everyone from Elijah to Moses to John the Baptist to Jesus, they all had to go out into the wilderness in order to hear the voice of God and feel God's presence. So where is this place? Well, if you look it up in the dictionary, it says that the wilderness is an area that is largely undisturbed by human activity. And that place, my friends, is within you. When Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, that's what he meant. Within you is that still place, that pure, untouched place, that wilderness. And the season of Lent requires us each day to venture into that wilderness, into the silence, so that we can experience God's peace and presence. But I know why a lot of people don't want to do that. They're afraid of being in the silence because they're afraid of having to wrestle with those thoughts. That's what today's gospel reading was all about. Jesus is out in the wilderness for 40 days and nights, and he has to wrestle with Satan. Now, I told you a few weeks ago, there is no guy with red horns and a pitchfork. Okay? What is Satan? I mean, was Jesus out there in the wilderness wrestling with some guy? No. The Hebrew word for Satan means adversary, opponent, stumbling block. Jesus called this adversary the father of lies. And what Jesus was doing in the wilderness is he was wrestling with those voices that were telling him lies. What are the lies that we oftentimes hear in the silence that we're afraid of? The voice that says, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not good looking enough. You don't have what other people have. You'll never amount to anything. Jesus, Satan in the story says to Jesus, you can have all this. Look what you could have, the whole world. It's that voice of the ego. Now, many spiritual teachers have said that ego can be an acronym, EGO, and it stands for edging God out. Okay? Because that's what those thoughts try to do. They try to edge God out. What we're doing in the silence when we enter into the wilderness is we are wrestling with those thoughts that are telling us lies, and we are speaking truth to them. Because the truth of your being is that you are a child of God. You are holy and perfect in God's sight. You are royalty. When you know the truth of your oneness with God, you can easily do what Jesus did. He was able to say to the father of lies, "Get behind me, Satan." Okay? Now, 40 days and nights, this is also symbolic. If you read the Bible, you may be wondering what this is all about, this number 40, because it appears so much in the Bible. So Jesus is in the wilderness for 40 days and nights. Moses is atop Mount Sinai for 40 days and nights. Jonah is in Nineveh for 40 days and nights. The Noah's Ark story was 40 days and nights. Is this a coincidence? Well, no, because again, as I told you last Sunday, the Bible is symbolic, not literal. The ancient people understood numbers symbolically. And 40 represented a time of spiritual completion, a time for new growth and new life to take place. And many theologians said they chose that number because pregnancy was 40 weeks long, the number of from conception to birth. And that's why Lent is 40 days. Because during these 40 days, we are to be experiencing new growth, new life at Easter. Now, at this time of year, I often think of two things. I think of a seed in the ground, and I think of a caterpillar in the cocoon. A seed has to go into the darkness. Doesn't sound like a nice place, but has to go into the darkness, and it has to die to being a seed in order to become a plant. And a caterpillar has to go into darkness, into the cocoon. It has to die to being a caterpillar in order to become a butterfly. And the same is true for us, my friends. We have to enter into the darkness, into the wilderness, into the silence. And it is there that we will experience, as Noah did and Jesus did, God's presence. We'll hear God's voice, and we will become a new creation. That's what we're preparing ourselves for this Easter. So that's what I'd like to invite you to do each and every day for these 40 days. As I'd like to invite you to find time each and every day to enter into the wilderness, to spend some time in the silence, to bring your worries and fears and resentment and anger. And then in the silence, the power of God will transform it into something new. For as we hear in the Bible, in Hosea chapter 2, it says, God says, the wilderness will lead you to your heart where I will speak. May it be so. Amen.